ADHD supervillain. OMG. I'm offended. No, we're not. We're not. But it is always fun to have your own tendencies and things reflected back to you in a fun house mirror as a quirky supervillain. And so we do have an ADHD supervillain, don't we, Wendy?
All around me are familiar faces, worn out.
I did it again.
You did it
Yeah.
again. Yes,
Start over.
David. No,
Start over.
I'm gonna
No,
keep this in.
can't do that to you.
I think it's funny.
It is funny because I have ADHD. Ah, damn it. It's on topic.
We do have a super villain who is a little quirky, Boy Kavalier. He is our super genius mad villain with ADHD.
So the thing about villains is that villains, to really make them chilling, they need to reflect some dark aspect of humanity back to us. So things that we can relate to, but just way, gone way too far, over exaggerated. And actually, I think they've done a pretty thoughtful job of taking some ADHD tendencies and spinning it up into a supervillain. So let's discuss.
It was maybe not a shock, but I was surprised how they just mentioned Kavalier had ADHD when Kirsch was like, hey, remember your ADHD, take your medication. We had been suspecting throughout the season, like, there's something about Kavalier. But when Kirsch confirmed it, I was like, this makes sense. His writing makes sense now. It's not just a quirky character. There's some traits that and I know you too, relate to.
Certainly. And I love the texture of the scene where Kirsch's voice is cutting in and out on the speaker. It's like, sir, with ADHD as severe as yours, impulsive medication. And he's just like, yeah, I can't really hear that. Like mentally or physically, like, yeah, whatever.
And he's actually holding his medication bottle while looking.
Yeah, great scene. And of course, now that they told us, it does make a lot of sense if we go back and look at his tendencies. So let's run through them here. Wandering, unregulated attention span. Check. Failing to complete tasks or be thorough. Check. Sudden enthusiasm, impulsivity, recklessness. Check, check, check.
And we see all of this in different examples. From one second to the other, he's obsessed with the hybrids. And then once the aliens come in view, he's like, nope, I'm going to deal with the aliens now.
Didn't you say that we need to take the meme of the dude looking at the new girl and the old girlfriend's like, what? Like,
yeah, literally that's him though. He has his blinders on. And I've definitely done that too. Something new and shiny comes along, I'm just on it.
Yeah, like we were saying, some of the tendencies that we have, but just with a lot more riding on them and just way worse. So yeah, he's created this miraculous hybrid technology and then he's not even like following up on all the data from the tests that they're running.
No, and he even will walk in and Arthur will be giving a hearing test to Wendy and it's like, okay, you're just doing these background things. I'm not actually going to read these results because he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, so he's shown a general lack of supervision over the hybrids, which is really staggering when you consider the power that they have, especially Wendy. And he's just like popping in to read him a story once in a while from the darkest part of Peter Pan. Like, that's not parenting.
No. And then he's surprised when they rise up against him. He's been like deadbeat dad this whole time and he's like, wait, you guys aren't going to listen to me?
Yeah, and then of course, the height of recklessness, everything having to do with his handling of the aliens and especially iBug. He's both fascinated, is like hyper focused and fascinated on iBug because it's the most interesting one. I mean, we are too. We just can only make iBug videos. Don't blame him. But bringing iBug into his office, trying to put it in Joe in his office, like these are just beyond reckless.
He even doesn't think about general things, like things that you would think about: security of Neverland, the safety of Neverland, the mold that's going on. Like, these are simple, straightforward things that any person would be like, yeah, we have to kind of keep these in check. And he just doesn't consider anything.
Yeah, the mold feels like they did an environmental study or something and they said, sir, we can't. And he was like, yeah, whatever. We'll just spray it down. Like,
he lets other people deal with real world things. Like Kirsch, okay, you're going to go in the lab and you're going to deal with this. But I'm really excited about it. But you do all the mundane things.
it could be that there's a scene where Kirsch is like, sir, should I drop alien embryos in Joe's lung and see what happens? And he's like, yeah, go ahead and do that. But it sure seems like Kirsch is just doing whatever in the lab there. So there's some other traits of Kavalier: quick to judge, impatient, angry. So where do we see some of those things come into the story?
He's really angry when it comes to his underlings, anyone under him. He's like, why aren't you doing this thing? This is what you need to do, like right away. He also doesn't realize his situation, him and the hybrids. Last episode, he's like, I'm still going to act like the way I've been acting, but I'm actually going to face some consequences for this.
Yeah, he just keeps insulting them when he's clearly lost control. And even the whole island has been spiraling out of control, and he's still trying to do his iBug thing. He's not leaving. There's just no prudence or like good judgment. It's just everything is all gas, no brakes. And a lot of it is very impatient. The quick to judge is like the way he cuts people off. Like he doesn't need to hear what anyone is saying. He already knows. I'm way ahead of you. Yeah, whatever.
I'm not going to lie. I do that too, especially if someone's talking to me. Like halfway through their sentence, I will have guessed the rest of their sentence and will start replying. And I know some people don't get it and they'll be like, wait, why are you interrupting me? They don't feel heard. But like my mind just automatically is like, wait, I already know what you're going to ask. Let me just answer before you have to finish this.
Absolutely. Anybody that knows me and has watched my live streams knows that I tend to interrupt a little too much sometimes. I guess the difference between someone like me or you and Kavalier is that we have a little bit of grace about it. We'll apologize. We'll explain to our friends, I'm so sorry that I interrupt so much. It's the ADHD. I try to be better about it. Kavalier doesn't give a F. He just is running over everyone, supremely arrogant, no remorse, and there's no follow-up to see if he missed something or anything like that. So that's a perfect example of like something that's similar to what we can relate to, but just much worse and done sort of psychopathically or whatever, without empathy.
Kavalier also has issues with authority figures.
Yeah, he did kill his father, so that seems like he had a problem with authority.
And he hijacked the Maginot. He's like, yeah, I'm going to make a deal with the chief engineer. I'm going to go around this. I'm not going to do this ethically. I'm just going to steal this technology. Also, just destroy his own city to do it, just because he wants to. Like, that's wild.
And we see that he just doesn't obey the law. He doesn't respect the power of the aliens. He's just got no respect for any authority, whether it's like literal authority or just like the laws of physics, prudence, good judgment. Just completely reckless. And of course, he replaced his father with a father he could boss around. It sounds ideal, kind of, but not really. Yeah, you can't blame all that on ADHD. That's certainly not what we're doing. But if you look at his modus operandi, it's consistent. Move fast and break things doesn't even begin to cover it. He's completely unethical.
And he's really insecure. Has to constantly belittle Kirsch because he is insecure with Kirsch's intelligence. I mean, Kirsch can pull out facts. He remembers things nonstop. He's literally plugged into everything, and Kavalier can't. And so I think to kind of get a leg up on Kirsch, he has to belittle him. And he's like, oh, he's just an android. He can look that up. Like, that doesn't really take critical thinking. But he knows he's a little insecure about it.
He talked about his father being jealous, which his father just sounds like an abusive drunk. So he's probably projecting the jealousy. I don't know, but he's clearly insecure.
And the way that I relate to this, and maybe you do as well, is I used to get really insecure with my academic performance. I would see my peers doing really well and not having this constant need to be aware and to be like, hey, I know I have issues taking notes or reading or whatever. But instead of me saying, okay, like having a little grace, I'd be like, wait, why can't I do that? Like they're doing it so easily. But in my case, I didn't go belittle them. I didn't go and kill my dad. We handle it a little differently, way more healthy.
Everyone's got their way of handling stuff. Some people steal spaceships. Some people cry in the dark and listen to music. It's whatever works for you. So the biggest point of comparison that I find between myself and Kavalier is this concept of like trying to improve on the things you're bad at or not. Okay. Everyone that is neurodivergent kind of can probably relate to this idea of like, we're really good at some stuff and other stuff we really struggle at. And a lot of the stuff we struggle at is stuff that other people do easily. And some of the things we're good at are more like unique skills. And so there is this identity crisis where it's like, I feel like an idiot when I try to pay my bills, but when I make YouTube videos or explain symbolism, I feel like a gifted child. So yeah, Kavalier, he represents a very extreme example of not trying to improve on any of the things he's bad at. He's offloaded all the administrative stuff to his androids, which wouldn't it be nice? And then he is becoming hyper overconfident and egotistical because he is savant-like at other things. And so that to me just really resonated with me as like the worst possible way to handle this. So Miki, let me ask you, how do you deal with that?
So I think the dichotomy is important because it keeps you in check. So while there are things that I know that I excel at, I mean, I love analyzing stuff. That's why we have this show right here. I do love this. I do love critically thinking about a piece of literature, a movie, a film, and seeing what I can extrapolate from there. I love that.
You're pretty good at the memes too, I
And
must
the
say.
memes, yeah, there we go. That's another skill I have. But there are some things, maybe real world things, like you said, paying bills. That's definitely one of my issues, maybe more of an adult's responsibility that I may not be the best at. And I almost like that keeps me in check. So it's like, yeah, I'm really good at this, but I'm a whole person. Like I can't just focus on my good or like my achievements, my good attributes. Like you have to consider the whole package because it is really easy and it is dangerous, like we see with Kavalier, if you just ignore one side of you, right? If all I thought about was all these things I achieved, one, I'm not living an authentic life. I'm just living this idealized life and you become bigger than what you are. So it is, you got to remember both.
Yeah, and you got to step outside your comfort zone a little bit if you want to grow. So like, for example, let's take the way that he over romanticizes being a child, okay? There are certain aspects of our personality that will come across as childlike, playful, innocent, naive at times, or something like that. And that's okay, certainly. But like, look at me. I have a YouTube channel. I talk about fantasy stories. I'm living in the world of make-believe. But I make videos. Like I have a schedule. I produce the videos. I work hard on them. I maintain my audience, and I do the professional things that enable my YouTube channel to exist. I found a maturity that suits me. I have a childlike nature. I am imaginative and daydreamy, and I have preserved my ability to do that. I did not force myself to become a banker. It's okay to lean into the things you're good at. However, I found a maturity that hopefully, I don't want to claim too much maturity, but I tried to find a way to grow up that works for me. Peter Pan Kavalier did not.
He's barefoot. That's such a kid thing to do as well. Like he's not even responsible enough to wear a pair of shoes.
Okay, so he likes to walk around barefoot. Okay. But he's not aware of when and where that might make people uncomfortable and might be inappropriate. He just does it to flaunt his power. So it goes beyond quirky and becomes obnoxious, right?
Yep. And nasty.
And that had to bring up the feet for you.
I know. What is this, third, fourth video?
Every video.
Kavalier was like, I'm going to offload anything that's adult responsibilities onto literally an AI. He doesn't have to deal with that. He doesn't even have to think about it. He's an idea person. He doesn't actually have to go make it. He comes in. Wouldn't this be cool if we did this? Walks out.
That's just it. He did at one point program his own android, I guess, when he was 6, but it seems like it's been a long time since he's done any of the actual work. Exactly right. He just said, wouldn't it be nice? And then walks out and other people can make it happen or not. And then people are like, sir, there are practical concerns. And he's like, yeah, whatever. He just blows them off because he doesn't know. He wasn't involved in the process. He doesn't understand.
I mean, Arthur brings this up to Dame. This isn't science. We're not doing science. There needs to be a controlled experiment. We have to do X, Y, Z. And Dame's like, no, this is just how he works. There's a lot of excuses for him because of his brilliance. But then you have characters who are like, wait, no, we actually have to stop and think about these things.
And this is why it's set up so well when Wendy skewers him and says, actually, you were never a kid. You're an angry man. And what she's referring to is the fact that instead of learning how to relate to people and healing his trauma and doing the hard work, let's assume he has some social anxiety or whatever, he didn't try to overcome that. He just turned to judging everyone and being angry at everyone, which is what Wendy, hangs on him. And so I relate to that a lot. And social anxiety is always a good example of this. Like anytime, if you have social anxiety, you're in this weird situation. Like you want to connect with people, but when you go out, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe you'll get in your head and cry in the corner and go home after an hour. But what I say to myself is like, I'm going to go out and try anyway. And if I have to leave early and if I don't have a good time, that's all right. It's better than staying home and not trying. So Kavalier, he just dug into his power and he's basically sought out power that allows him to run over his obstacles. So instead of negotiating with things that are difficult, he just crushes them. But it is kind of a bold choice to put the spotlight on something like ADHD, neurodivergency, with an implicitly villainous character, isn't it?
There is something to be said about representation. Is all representation good? I was really hesitant to even bring it up because you want representation. You want people to be aware of these tendencies, of these conditions. You want everyone to feel like they can identify with characters. But I was a little scared to do so when you have a condition and then you have a villain portraying this, right? Because there could be some stereotype of, oh, well, then they're all evil, or this is a horrible condition, or, it puts you on that end of the spectrum. And so it is really important that we do have this conversation. I'm glad we came around to it because there are not just characters who are villainous or do evil things with ADHD. There are other characters who are heroic protagonists like Percy Jackson who show you a different side of it, right? And there's characters that represent a lot of other tendencies, a lot of other conditions, and looking at how they act with it because of it, what they do with it.
I haven't read Percy Jackson, but I know a lot of people watching our video definitely will. You told me he's more of a positive example where his uniqueness is celebrated, but specifically as a tool to help others. Isn't that a big part of it?
For those who don't know, and for David, he is what the story calls a half-blood, where he is a demigod. So his dad is Poseidon. Spoilers, it's the first book, and not a spoiler. His dad's Poseidon, but his mom is a human. He goes through this identity crisis of, at first, his ADHD is looked upon as a negative thing, like, oh, he's out of line, or his actions, like, it just causes him to be this way. He needs to fix himself. But then when he meets other demigods, other halflings, other half-bloods, he realizes, oh, this is a part of myself, but I can use these tendencies for the positive to help others. So he talks about, and you see it, but he'll talk about while he is reckless, he uses that to go save somebody. He's like, oh, right away, I'm going to go help somebody with this. Instead of, I'm doing things and not thinking about it. He pivots his tendencies to do something good.
Right. It's like he's almost being reckless about his own safety to help somebody else. And we see Kavalier could have used his genius to help the world. He invented a new kind of hybrid brain. What could he have done? There's enough power in each hybrid to power like a city or whatever it is. He could be providing power to all these slums and poor neighborhoods on his islands, but he's not. He's playing around instead. So that's a great comparison and contrast there.
And it makes me happy because you can see two different characters approach their life, both with the same condition. And it shows you have something, you're not automatically a bad person. You have something and you're not automatically a good person, but look at how they, their coping skills and their life choices. So it gives you a full range, I think, which is really nice as a viewer or a reader.
Yeah, and I've definitely heard Black people talk about this when they're talking about Black representation in movies and stuff. It's like, don't give us characters that can't do any wrong. Like we want villains and heroes. We want everything in between. The same thing with gay characters or anything like that. Like don't do the trope where they're all the same, but it's like we should have a range because people are all different, of course, and we don't want to reduce people to stereotypes even as we're trying to represent the different groups and types of people that exist in the world. So for example, in Game of Thrones, Tyrion is a dwarf. Does he suffer persecution because of his condition? Yes, absolutely. Does that justify the incredible violence that he commits? No, it doesn't. And Cersei, another example, she's a woman in a patriarchal society and she chafes against that. She would live a different life. She wouldn't go all the way to Brienne level, but she wants to defy her gender role and can't and chafes against it. And it becomes a source of grievance for her and leads to her committing these acts of incredible violence. None of that is justified because of being picked on or whatever. So that's why I love this discussion. It's like we can see stuff that we have in common with this guy, but we can also see where he made choices that we wouldn't make. So there you go. I think that pretty much says it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and definitely leave us your comments. Let us know how you felt about how they handled this. But I thought it was pretty cool, honestly. Caused a lot of interesting reflection.
And I'm also just happy we have writers out there who want to bring these topics up, who want people to have these conversations. It's not just a little fun add-in that doesn't mean anything. It, makes us talk about it.
Well, there you go, folks. Again, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time with a video that might not be about aliens. Ooh.
Ooh, exciting.
What's it going to be about?
Who knows? We know, but you don't know. Bye, guys.